Hello and welcome to the Rai Centre in Amsterdam on Monday the 14th of September. In today's programme, it's double take for broadcasters, but in what format? We have the latest on 3D. A night at the Opera as New York's Met scoops IBC's top award. And still on tap 25 years on, it's the sequel to a cult classic. You're watching IBC TV News. Now, the race for 3D is taking on a new dimension. With broadcasters already announcing the first stereoscopic transmissions, everyone wants to know how this will be achieved. 3D is technically challenging in a number of ways, but the standards issues could prove just as tricky. Karen Griggs has this report.
Getting 3D television into homes across the world is ambitious, but delegates at IBC have never shied away from a challenge. One of the big issues is how to reach a common standard. The Society of Motion Picture and Television Engineers has been leading a task force to find a master format for broadcasters.
We're in the process of, we've put together the committees to formally standardise this home master now, and we're also looking probably at standardising a package for broadband delivery of 3D.
There is a real passion to get 3D on the TV, and companies seem keen to cooperate with each other. Surely, if it can work in the cinema, it can work in viewers' homes.
Any 3D player, would it be a computer, a Blue Disc player or set-top box, is actually a computer in disguise. And this device has the ability to convert format to whatever. So I don't think there would be a format war.
But time is pressing. The UK's B-Sky B is looking to broadcast its first 3D programmes next year.
What we're going to do is set the benchmark and probably well establish some clarity on what is and isn't a standards debate or not. We're focused on using a format that's compatible with the existing HD infrastructure and an open format.
Dolby is famous for its innovations in audio, but now it's a key player in getting 3D images into the cinema, and they want to be involved in the small screen too.
We've been looking at the different ways that you could take the 3D image and put it into a distribution system to the home. And there are fundamentally two ways of encoding that information. One is by starting with a 2D image and adding additional information. The other way is by taking the two images and combining them in a way that's compatible with existing distribution systems.
Whatever happens in the home or cinema, the acquisition of 3D pictures is equally challenging. With side-by-side rigs, the point of convergence between the left and right-eye cameras can push the action away, meaning it's difficult to film close-ups. But with rigs like this, the point of conversion is much closer. But their size means they can still be less practical.
So there are many problems to be overcome, but judging by the interest in 3D at this year's IBC, stereo pictures will be well worth double the effort.
Karen Griggs reporting. Now, one forecaster is predicting a market upturn for the broadcast industry. With that and today's other business stories, here's Chris Page.
Thanks, Rob. A new report published here at IBC says the broadcast market will show a modest recovery in 2010. Strategy Analytics and consultants DIS are predicting a 5% growth in sales. That's against a 14% drop this year.
There are enough of those countries that are on record as having lifted out of recession that it encourages me that will lead to this inevitable path to more revenues for broadcasters.
Al Jazeera Television is investing in its pay TV sports output. The Qatar-based broadcaster has signed a deal with Erdetto for 500,000 smart cards to protect premium content. Erdetto is also supplying a scalable conditional access system. Germany's NDR has bought an Omnion video storage system for its news operation. The Media Grid system will be installed at its Hamburg production centre. Spanish broadcaster Antena 3 is building a complete end-to-end production facility for its news, sports and magazine programmes. The broadcaster has bought a Dalit asset management system to handle content at its Madrid headquarters and regional stations in the Canary Islands. Swedish broadcaster SVT has bought a compliance monitoring and archiving system from Landlink. Digital Rapids will provide the encoders. And finally for today, the BBC's outside broadcast partner SIS Live transmitted simultaneous concerts from 5 cities at the weekend to mark a British tradition called the Last Night of the Proms. All the pictures were streamed through a single OB truck at the Albert Hall in London. For the first time, SIS used new all-in-one uplink from Gigawave.
We're using our Gigawave MVL HD2 links to bring the video from Hyde Park to the Albert Hall and another set from the Albert Hall to Television Centre, where it's distributed to the UK viewer and around the world.
And those are the main stories for today. We'll have another roundup of business news tomorrow.
Now, in an industry known for its energy, it's no surprise that energy consumption is also an issue. And however green we may aspire to be, the power consumed by viewers at home is growing all the time. It's something we can't ignore, and this year at IBC there's been a conference session to look at the problem. What can broadcasters and manufacturers do to lead the way? Graham Bowd reports.
Information technology generates 10% of the world's greenhouse gases. That's more than the airlines. So as governments look for ways to meet their targets on carbon emissions, the broadcast industry cannot escape the spotlight. In the past, it's been easy to ignore power consumption, but not anymore. Energy is now the second highest cost of running a data center. Manufacturers take note.
More and more, the governments are considering to tax people on CO2 emissions. And we have to be very much aware that broadcast stations in some parts of the world are one of the highest CO2 emitters. So it means that if this directly affects your cost of operation, you can just face that from one day to another, you have increased your operation cost.
The IBC conference has been discussing ways to make the industry greener, and many companies at the show have made environmental issues a priority.
We used to use very large trucks to do relatively small productions, so that's why we have built a smaller truck, basically a van, as you can see behind me, a 6-camera HD van, which is obviously a lot more environment friendly than the big scanners.
But with consumers using most energy of all, small initiatives can achieve a lot. One project has focused on lowering the power consumption of set-top boxes. There are 100 million of these worldwide, so even a tiny reduction would make a worthwhile difference.
Design is one of the most creative skills you can have. However, designers tend to design to a brief. If you don't include environment within that brief, it doesn't get considered. So we need to build it into the brief, and the creative industries will provide us the solutions.
And even the Rise Centre is doing something to help. A huge event like IBC may be greener than you think.